Aloha, everybody. I've got of the amazing Tower Takeover Tarot. Yeah, that really pretty much sums up 2020 for most people, doesn't it? Oh, and our lovely Jamie is here, and she already put the listing for the deck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. That's amazing of you. Let me get it up on here. If I don't have the stream on my phone, sometimes I miss chat. So tell me about the inspiration for the deck.
So I have the little blurb on the back of the deck. This is Tower Takeover Tarot. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'll explain a little bit more. It says it's a transformative deck. Sorry, a transformative 79 card tarot deck to explore the destruction and liberation of the tower in each card, inspired by and created during the upheaval of the year 2020. So that last sentence kind of sums up very simply what 2020 was for us. It was an upheaval for sure. I describe a little bit in the guidebook itself what the inspiration was, and I tried to word it in a way that was applicable to anybody in the world, even though I'm here in the United States and we experience certain upheavals locally with us. I mean, the whole world was impacted by things of 2020. So on page 4 here, I have a little introduction, and it explains about how we not only had an upheaval because of the pandemic, but there was also a lot of social issues that were brought up. And it's important not to just set those aside and move on from it. It's important to tear down the tower that was built, that was upholding those views, and to rebuild something that works for the world now. So that was one of the inspirations for Tower Takeover Tarot, was to not only kind of laugh at the silliness of just everything falling apart, but
Right, literally.
to really learn how to rebuild after that. So there's some things that we do want to bring down, and the tower gives us an opportunity to do that.
And I gotta say, I love the little write-ups you have for each.
Thank you.
It's just tongue-in-cheek, but also serious at the same time, if that makes sense.
That's exactly what I was going for. If anybody knows me personally and has interacted with me and stuff, this book really has my voice in it. I really enjoyed being able to just write it and not have a lot of input. I've done projects with other people. I've written a guidebook for another deck. I've done art for decks. So just having something that was only me and I didn't have to get permission to do anything for the deck was really nice. I just wrote it out, and it really does have my voice in it as far as I know things suck, but let's work on this together. That's definitely me.
Right. And I love the fact that I actually met you through another creator's Facebook group, Natalie Marikai, the creator of the Mood Tarot.
Yeah.
So I got to see some of these images before anyone else, which I appreciate. And for those of you who haven't seen the deck, look at that black gilding on the side. So much fun. And of course, my soul card's right there on top. So I've been playing with it a little bit.
Can you tell me a little bit about your soul card and why it is important to you? I'm curious.
So I do it by the math, right? So
okay.
You add up your birthday and you get your destiny card, basically. And then you add those together to get a single digit soul card. And doesn't matter which way I do the math, it always ends up rounding down to the High Priestess.
Nice.
So, which is interesting because Julie Kusha Watts makes the High Priestess the Virgo card in her decks, and I'm a Virgo. So it's
there you go.
Triple whammy there.
Yeah. Yeah, my cards are the Star and Strength. Okay. Or Justice if you have the swap of Justice and Strength in the deck.
So one way of adding up, it's 11, so it's either Justice or Strength, depending on how you do it.
Yeah.
And the other way of adding up, it's actually Judgment. So I guess I'm judgy. I
don't know. You have a higher calling. That's what it is.
Thank you.
I haven't
Sometimes
been
it feels
paying
like
attention
being
to
a
the
little judgy.
comments. Are people, oh, everybody's just saying
Oh
hello.
yeah, things are just
Hi.
like flying by on there. So a bunch of people popped in. I was throwing their names up and waving if I caught them. Roman Biscotti, our own Tangi, is here.
It's nice to meet everybody.
So you made it so that every card is the tower with the image. So the thing that I find interesting is that not everyone is falling, right? Right, or is. Of course, I've been shuffling and using, so it's going to be impossible for me to find the ones.
Yeah, I should have opened a
I
fresh
should have
deck
pulled them out,
to be able to have them in order, huh?
that's okay.
Yeah,
So one of the ones that I notice, like most of them are falling, or like even here in the Four of Wands, you don't even have figures; you just have the 4 wands falling, right? But let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm thinking the Sun card.
The Sun card, yes.
Right.
So there's kind of a simple explanation for that.
Yeah.
The simple explanation for the few that don't have them falling is that there's children in it. And I felt that it was inappropriate to have a child falling from the tower. I'm a mother of 3. I felt very uncomfortable with that. Another thing that I did was I did not have any animals falling from the tower except for cats, because we all know they land on their feet. So we have the lion and we have the sphinxes from the chariot falling from the tower. I felt like that was appropriate because they were big cats and we know that they can take care of themselves.
Right.
So the dogs,
a few of the minors are almost Pippish.
Yeah, so originally when I created the deck, it was more of a therapeutic art project for me. I'm a graphic designer by trade and just general artist. So whenever I was creating the deck, it kind of started as a silly thing. Actually, Natalie, who you mentioned earlier, she encouraged me to do the deck. I saw a meme that said, "Oops, all towers," and it said the deck of 2020. And I thought that was hilarious. And I was like, Natalie, I think I can make a deck out of this. And I was just gonna do like a full complete deck of just tower cards, and it was gonna be really silly and just kind of hokey and get it out the door quick and just get it out to people, something really cheap. And then as I was digging down into like what that would mean for me, it didn't seem like it matched with like my values to just do something quick like that. It seemed like there was a lot more to it. I mean, there was a big opportunity there to explore the tower in a new way. The tower is a really scary card for some. So it gave me an opportunity to center it around healing and also bring some humor to it, because I mean, to see people falling it's just kind of silly, especially because, like, for example, this is the 2 of Cups and I just had it on top there. You usually see them all peaceful and gazing at each other. But in this one, you have like one of them is free falling and actually doesn't seem to be too upset about it, and the other one's devastated. So you could kind of explore the relationship between like the characters that you know really well, but putting them into the tower card actually gives you a new perspective of it. I've also noticed that some people are noticing details in the cards that they didn't notice before because they were just so standard Rider Waite, and some artists interpret it in different ways and they leave out certain details. In these cards, though, I have certain details falling from the tower, so it kind of highlights them in a way. So like they have their crowns and other things like that. I did do some editing to the characters to make them more diverse. For example, the 2 of Cups, those are both feminine figures. They're not necessarily female. I might have gendered them in the book, but I was very particular about not gendering specific characters to make sure that they're applicable for more people. And then also, I just made sure that I was more diverse in the way that I drew the deck.
Like the King of Pentacles in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through and I made a list of people that I knew in my life that have different abilities, different situations, and I pulled from them. And I actually did consult some people and asked like, hey, would it be offensive if this happened? Or, hey, would you be willing to kind of look over this to make sure I was representing this in the correct way? Some of the skin tones, I asked certain artists, some people of color, saying, hey, can I pull exact hues from your art to match this so that I make sure that it's represented in a way that was appropriate. And I got a lot of really positive feedback and a lot of help from people. Many of them just asked if they were not mentioned, so I didn't really do any shout outs for thanks, but they know that I'm very thankful for it.
I did find the sun. So
oh, there we go. Yeah.
So the child's sitting at the base of the tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everything else has fallen.
Yeah, and another thing I also did was to represent kind of enclosed and less freedom is clothe that child. So right. The nakedness and openness of the sun card, it's kind of like this innocence and this like this celebration, and there's no need for pants on the little guy on the horse. But in falling from the tower, you have that that sense of need to protect yourself and need to shelter yourself. So that's why I decided to put little shorts on the guy.
Right. And like you were saying, like taking the children out completely, like the Six of Cups here.
Yeah.
You just see the cups falling.
Yeah. Another thing that I missed when I was chatting about it was that when I first started, it was going to be a pretty simple project. I didn't realize that so many people would be interested. So I allotted myself a specific amount of time to do the art based on how much I could potentially make off of it, so that I wasn't just, spending hours and hours on something that wasn't really going to have anything back. Right. So, as a graphic designer, I have to do that all the time and quote hours for things. So it wasn't unlike me to do that. So when I did it, I decided that I had a certain allotment of hours for the pip cards. So I decided to draw them as pip cards originally. So I had just 10 or 9 or 8 of things falling from the tower. And then during the Kickstarter campaign, I actually over doubled the goal. And so many people are asking me about those, the minor arcana cards, that I decided to go back and redraw them. So I redrew about 40 cards, and I revisited a few of the majors as well. So that's why some of them have a little bit less detail and a little bit more. I tried to make them cohesive, but there's a few that didn't get as much attention for a few just timing reasons, but also I revisited so many that I just had to get it out. I was running very, very late on production because I redrew over half the deck. And so I had to kind of balance it of like, okay, do people really want more detail in the cards, or do they just want their deck in their hands? So so I communicated with on the, there you go. There's the Six of Swords. So originally I just had the 6 swords falling, and then the figures are on there. So if you notice again, the child is sitting with the person instead of falling from the tower.
Right. So instead of sitting in a boat, they're just sitting at the base of the tower. And the rower is the one falling.
Poor guy.
I gotta say though, I love the devil card, because the little lovers turning into devils are falling, but the devil just flying away, going,
Yeah, I kind of said something about it in the book too. Like, he was like, bye, I'm not helping you guys. Like, I have no business here if you're not going to serve me, or if you're going to be useless to me. I have no business here. Bye.
Jamie says that she, Wandering Mountain Bardic Path, says she likes the 6 of Cups and the 10 of Cups, and how the cups are all spilling.
Yeah.
And speaking of cups, I pulled out the King of Cups, which is a woman. Yeah. So
I drew that one specifically to represent some of my trans friends. So I spoke with them and 2 different people and asked them, like, how can I appropriately represent this? And I decided to keep it as King of Cups, and then draw a feminine figure, so that it kind of highlights that there's a vast difference between how you're represented, like how other people see you and how you express yourself. So you can kind of go back and forth of which way you're seeing it. Like, perhaps the inside you feel like the King of Cups, but on the outside you look like that. Or perhaps people see you as the King of Cups, but inside you feel that you're represented in a more feminine figure. In the guidebook, I specifically say that I can quote myself. I find myself reading the guidebook a lot more than I thought I would. It's kind of funny. People laugh at me for it.
Well, when you're channeling the message, sometimes it doesn't stick in the head.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, where is it? So in the guidebook, so the minor arcana have a shorter little blurb than the majors. The majors have the full page each. In the King of Cups, I said the unconventional way that you live is not the reason for your heartache. So highlighting that you're different, but your difference is not what's causing you the problems.
Right.
And I was drawing from people's personal experiences with that. I know that that I cannot represent them in a perfect way, but I tried by consulting people who have had those kinds of experiences with life.
Another one that I love is the Three of Swords, because you got rid of the heart completely, which I appreciate, since it's so much deeper in ways that people just immediately think of the heart with three swords and heartbreak. Okay. But this I love because they're falling hilt first.
Yeah, so it's like they're falling out of the heart, because in the heart they're stabbed this way, but then they're falling out. And if you notice, they have little blood stains on the swords themselves, and that's the only card that on either side of the tower there's no flames. The rain is washing away, like putting the flames out. And in the original Rider-Waite-Smith card, it does have the rain as well. And as I went through, I have a pretty vast collection of tarot. So whenever I was drawing these, I had, my Rider-Waite-Smith working deck out and kind of comparing like what I wanted to do with it. And I saw the rain, and immediately I'm like, the rain is putting out the fire. So having that heartache card in a tower experience is kind of like, sometimes people can hold on to that heartache and they build that tower around that experience, and it needs to crumble down for you to be able to rebuild something else. So it's kind of where I was going with that card, as far as keeping the heart out of it and like just focusing on the destruction of what needs to be destroyed, and then building something better up.
And releasing those thoughts that stab at your heart.
Yeah, yeah.
And another one that I really love is this Temperance card, because the cups are still mixing, and she's got wings, so is she falling or not?
Well, I addressed that in the book, actually. I mentioned, let me see exactly what I said here. Oh, this one was also, just to highlight it, I specifically chose to use pronouns for specific cards as non-binary, just to be able to be inclusive. So Temperance is one of the ones that I did. So the angels falling from unforeseen destruction of the tower, they lost their grip on the cups, and the water is at risk of spilling. The sacred balance is thrown off. The angel of temperance seems to be accepting of their fate. In the distraction of the chaos, the angel doesn't even use their own wings to fly away from the danger. Stability has been disturbed, and until they open their eyes, peace will not be restored. So that's the first little description of it. And then the second one is kind of interpretation of the card. But they...
Let's see if I can get focus.
Yeah, so they have their eyes
are closed. Their
eyes are closed. And they're not going to be able to do anything about it until they open their eyes. And they have the tools to kind of get out of the situation, but they really need to open up and like realize it. And I know that's something that a lot of people experience during when, especially if it happens all the time to you, if it's just towers keep falling around you and tower moments keep happening to you, it's easy to get in that zone of just like, well, it's 2020, like it just keeps happening, and to not realize what's happening around you could actually hinder your ability to heal, because you're going to have to visit it again to be able to get through it.
Right.
Otherwise, it's going to be this pile of rubble back there that is not going to do you any good, but you're going to have to take care of it eventually, whether it's because something like an emergency comes up and you're going to have to like handle it right away, or you have to just like unpack things in the future.
Right. Well, and just in general, it's better not to ignore that destruction, because if you do, the rubble's going to end up falling on top of you, right?
Yeah. It's dangerous for other things in your life as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are there any other cards that you that you like? Or
The whole deck, really.
thanks. I'm curious as to how you have been using the deck. Have you been using it for like daily draws or with other decks or just by itself?
I've been using them just with like random spreads just to like try it out. Speaking of, I love the spreads that you have in the book itself.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I committed to a page count before I was done writing it. And I was just like, oh, can I add more pages? I had just had so much that I wanted to pack into the back that you'll notice that that it's pretty tiny in there because I just wanted to pack so much.
Yeah. It's packed with 5 spreads on 2 pages. So
I know, I tried. I kept the spreads kind of small because I felt like it's more of a clarifying deck. So perhaps you pull a tower in another spread and you're like, that tower is really bugging me. What does that mean? You can go ahead and pull out your Tower Takeover Tarot deck and do a spread specifically on that tower card that you've pulled in other spreads. I love how the back lines up. Oh, I was so surprised when like when you spread it out, it's just the black because of the way. I'm so pleased with the quality of it.
So the backs are obviously reversible.
Mm-hmm.
Were you planning on people using this with reversals? Or I know not everyone does reversals, but
yeah, so that
those
was something
too.
That was something that I played with. I pondered back and forth, and it ended up just coming down to again, like the timing of how much time I had allotted to create this and how many pages a book. I mean, once you start getting a thicker guidebook and start writing more and more and more, then the box size gets bigger and then the shipping cost increases and everything just keeps piling on it. And I already had a price point in mind. I did some research on indie deck prices and, mass produced prices. And I did not want to bring the deck over $40. I wanted it to stay affordable for people who would need a tower deck to work through those moments. So I had already had a price point in mind. So I felt like I couldn't do it justice to add a little bit of reversal information in the guidebook. So whenever I was designing it, the back specifically, I mean, not only does that look really awesome, it does give you the opportunity to use it with reversals, but I kind of left it up to whoever is using it to interpret it the way that they want to. Because a few people asked me if a tower deck was just a deck of reversals. So you could read it that way if that's what you want. If you get a reverse card, you can use the deck to kind of dig deeper into it, or read it as the reversal meaning of the card. So I know that not everybody's going to pick up the guidebook and read through it every single time they pick a card. So if you're really familiar with tarot and reversals, you could just read this deck as all of them are reversals because it's falling from the tower. I didn't write the book or create the deck that way, but I welcome anybody to use it any way that they feel comfortable using it. So I'm not sure exactly how other people would interpret like a reverse Queen of Wands tower card. But I mean, I certainly ask everybody to explore it in their own way. And I would love to know feedback because I've already gotten some really good feedback that wouldn't necessarily edit too much, but will help me with the voice of the next deck that I create.
So someone had mentioned the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If anybody wants a little piece of trivia, that one was took me the longest to draw because of how many figures were in there. And I wanted to get the details just right.
Yeah.
Was somebody asking just to see it or more about it?
Well, I love how the figures that are usually in the corners are still kind of in the corners and they're just sitting on clouds watching the whole thing. Mm-hmm. The wheel itself is cracked too.
Yeah.
Right.
They're doing fine. But also, if you noticed, usually they all have their books, like their knowledge that's easily accessible to them. So the fact that the books are falling, they are still there, but they don't have easy access to knowledge. Yeah. And they might, if you're thinking of them as like your guides. So I pulled that card in something where I was like, oh, I need more information. Like like how can I be guided? I pulled that card and I was laughing, so I'm like, that's like my guides not even knowing what to tell me because their books are gone and I can't get information from them. So that gave me a little laugh. And then I decided, like, okay, the signs that I'm seeing right now when I'm paying attention and doing it, maybe those signs that I think are like, oh, that's intuitively like my guides are telling me something, maybe because they don't have their books with them represented in the card, maybe those signs are not as important as I thought that they would be, or that they would usually be if I was really into it, or am like into being tapped into my intuition. So I kind of took things as a grain of salt, like these signs that were popping up. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of think about that a little bit more instead of just taking it for what I initially
face value.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, okay, not even they know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of brings us to strength here. She's like holding on to the lion while she falls.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite. That was one of the first cards I drew because I love that card. It's one of my soul cards, and I really wanted to represent something. Like I had it boiling in my heart and in my brain. I'm like, I know what this card is going to represent with the Tower. So with the standard strength card and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and the general meaning of it is that like that control without force, right? So it's like force, but through kindness and trust, and like that unconditional love that you get. And like the lion trusts her and she trusts the lion. It's a mutual thing. And this one, she's like desperately grasping for the lion, right? So like that is not going to be good for the lion, for her, because the lion's not going to trust her. Like she's grasping for them, like, no, wait, come back, I need you. Like this, we're gonna salvage this trusting relationship. So
the way she's pulling on the head, it's like, oh God, my neck, what are you doing?
Yeah. So like I took like that is the same as similar. I have all these decks next to me and I don't have a Rider-Waite-Smith deck next to me, but that is like a similar way that the card shows the lion, but so like the imagery looks really familiar, but then you're like, wow, that is a totally different meaning. In the guidebook, I specifically said that like she's going to have to regain the trust of the lion before she can pet him gently again, right? So that's something interesting. Like we all experience moments like that sometimes where it's like no, wait, like in a relationship, you could be like, no, wait, I know I broke your trust. I know this is bad, but like, trust me, and just like grab onto it, like we can save this. But sometimes you need to like fall away, both of you heal, and then you guys can work on things together again. So that's what I had in mind when I did that card. It was like, you can't desperately hold on to trust, right? Because that trust needs to be strong in itself. You can't force trust.
Well, and I noticed that for myself at least, the people that like cling on harder, the harder they cling, the more I'm like, oh.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's similar. It's like, come on, we can save this. It's like, no, it's not happening organically.
Yeah, no. Oh, right. Speaking of, we have the magician who's just falling, not even worried about it, just letting everything go.
And he cannot, like, all of his tools are useless. None of them are a parachute, right? They can't help him in this. So even if he had grasp of all those tools, they're useless to him at that point. I've definitely experienced magician tower moments in my life. Absolutely. Where the things I need are just at a grasp, but my situation, like, even if I have all of my skills, all of the money, all of the support, all of this, everything that I think that I need to be successful, the circumstance of falling from the tower makes all those things useless, right? So I just need to follow through with the tower moment and know that, like, perhaps it wasn't, like, it's not even my fault. There's nothing I can do about it. I just need to work through it at that point. So I hope that people can apply their personal experiences with this deck and use the guidebook to kind of help them to the next step, and know that there's hope, because the tower, I mean, there are very few buildings that last forever, right? destruction can happen, an earthquake can happen, anything can happen. The lightning strikes it, right? And once it's down, though, you have the opportunity to maybe update the building materials, maybe build a stronger foundation, maybe not use bricks, maybe use, sticks or straw like the pigs. I don't know. you can like explore different materials, which applicable to life would be like you explore different values that you could possibly use to rebuild relationships or rebuild like your career or something. Like maybe you need more schooling to be able to rebuild your career. There's different things that you can use to rebuild that tower. It doesn't have to be the same one that was there before. Sometimes it can't be. So that's something that the tower helps us explore.
I used to be one of those that bought into the, oh no, it's the tower, how horrible. And now I'm like, it's actually turned into one of my favorite cards because it really is. It's that rock bottom where the only way forward is up. So it's like, it's that spark of hope. It's that realization that, okay, this thing that you thought was like solid is now destroyed and gone. How can I rebuild in a way where it's even better? Knowing that what I rebuild can also just get crumbled like the previous tower. So it's, for me, it's this cycle of finding those moments that, like, yes, you've hit rock bottom, but it brings that sense of hope. I mean, after all, the next card is the star, right? So this is like that spark that starts the light, and then you get the starlight in the next card.
Yeah, I almost see it as, I don't know if I've ever really shared this with anybody before, but like I feel like it's the tower is what happens before the Ace of Wands. If that makes sense, like you have to, it's that beginning part, but not beginning because it's fresh and new, but beginning because something else was destroyed. And I feel like the Ace of Wands is almost like that spark of renewal of hope and renewal of passion and renewal. The Ace of Wands has never really felt like a first spark or first something. It's like that renewed spark because we've all been through the cycle of the wands. We've all been through the cycles, all the cycles of the tarot. So to have that imagery of like, when you get the Ace of Wands, it's like the tower happened before that. That's how it is for me anyways.
I love the image of like taking the wand and sticking it in the fire from the tower, and there you got your fire, right?
I love that. Thank you. That kind of gave me little goosebumps there. that gave me a deeper meaning to that imagery. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, I mean, that's what I was hearing you say. So
yeah, stick the wand in there.
Right. And speaking of
what
you're doing, there you go. The chariot. You don't have a chariot anymore, and the cats are like, I'm free. I'm going this way and that way, and you deal with it.
It was actually pretty interesting to find like inspiration photos to draw those. So some of them I use the inspiration photos from cards.
Right.
Excuse me, but because I wanted to be more diverse, I really needed to find other inspiration photos. Some of them are people from my life. And then also, I mean, with my graphic design job, I find and source photos all the time, right? So I'm used to that search, and I used to do search engine optimization, so I know how to trick the algorithms to give me exactly what I want. So it was actually really fun to do something for a project that was only me because I didn't have any other influences. Right. And so that one in particular, that one in particular was really fun because his hair was all big and it was like a picture of the guy jumping, and I had to, in a few of them,
totally looks like he's having a blast.
Yeah, I mean, I always pictured the expression on the charioteer. That's the word. The expression on the charioteer of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck always seemed inappropriate to me. I always felt like he needed a little more aggression or a little more determination or something in that expression. So that's kind of what I was going for. I was like, this is my opportunity. I can put a little more expression into his face.
I love that. Speaking of love.
Yes.
Lovers. He's in free fall. She's reaching for him. The angel just up there in the clouds going, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so the angel's there but cannot help them, right?
Right.
I specifically chose to have them not looking at each other. Like one of them is desperately reaching and the other one is either looking at the angel or looking away. So that can kind of represent that, like, you might be desperately reaching for something, or like in the lover's card, you're joining, but like perhaps you get separated for some reason, trust is broken or whatnot. And which person do you represent? Do you represent the person that is looking away, or are you that person that is like reaching towards them again? I believe in the guidebook, I also mentioned something about you can crawl towards each other at the base of the tower and heal together, or you can decide to separate and heal by yourself, and perhaps never get back together as far as that partnership goes. So,
and I find that he's just like giving in completely, like not struggling at all, and she's fighting, and she's got all the fire behind her too. So
yeah, so like when you pull that card, you can kind of reflect and say, which person am I? If you feel like the card is representing a partnership, you can look at that and say which kind of dynamic, or a combination of the two, or something different and completely different, but like which one do I represent? I personally tend to be that reaching, like grasp on, and that's why the strength card really resonated with me with that, and I needed that to be drawn in that way. But I tend to be like, okay, this isn't over. We can salvage this. We can fix this. We can do this. And sometimes it's not appropriate to do that. Sometimes you need to just kind of, you're wounded at the bottom of the tower. You kind of need to crawl away, take care of yourself before doing that. Or perhaps, I mean, maybe you crawl towards the person and help them. There could be that too. So I hope that like makes people think a little bit more, like which one am I?
Well, and I noticed this comment by Jamie here.
Oh yeah.
I don't find this a novelty deck, that is for sure. It's a very workable workhorse kind of deck. I like it a lot. Can you tell?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And it's true. Like, I mean, I got it because it was going to be my like 2020 deck to remind me what whatever the heck 2020 was. But then I started playing with it and actually using it in readings. I was like, it's actually is not just like a novelty deck. It's definitely brings something that has been missing, I guess.
Wow, thank you. That means a lot, because that's kind of how, like I just explained, how like it started out like, oh, I can make a novelty deck, and then I'm like, wait a second, there's an opportunity here. And it feels like that's how people are responding, that they had that initial spark of, oh, look, a novelty deck, and they're like, wait a second.
Right.
This has a little bit to it.
Works.
You know, it was a pretty safe way of me to do it, though, because if it didn't work out, if people didn't connect to it, it's still a funny novelty deck.
Right.
So I felt pretty safe releasing it, because if I didn't meet people's expectations as being super deep or a workable deck, it had something back to fall back on. So I know that some people aren't gonna connect with it, and I'm totally fine with that. I've been an artist long enough that not everybody's going to like my stuff. And I want people to like my general rule. So when I taught a tarot reading class, I specifically said, I'm like, okay, tarot is very similar to art and music and sex. Like, it's not like everybody kind of has their own style. Some things are not for everybody. Don't push it on somebody. Don't argue with them, because their relationship with music is going to be different than yours. You might say this is the best song ever, and they're like, that's terrible. This is the best song ever. And they're different styles. You can't compare it. So similar with tarot, like if anybody listening buys my deck and doesn't connect with it, I even wrote on the back here, tarot is a personal tool and has no single correct way to be used. This deck and all the other tools are here to serve you. Feel free to amend the interpretations to work for you. If you feel like this deck no longer serves you, take heed to the lesson of the tower and let the deck go to another person, take a break from it, or use the deck in a new way.
Love
there
that.
You go. So learn the lesson of the tarot, and if this deck doesn't work for you, just move on from it. And I feel completely okay saying that, and I don't take offense to it if somebody doesn't resonate with it.
For me, it feels almost like they're trying to like be objective about something that's very subjective. So you can't really look at it in an objective point of view because it's subjective, right?
Yeah.
It's no matter how you put it, you're going to be looking at it through your lens.
Yeah.
So, oh, and Jamie says that she got it initially because of RBG. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Jamie, did you get both packages from me? Did you get it?
We did, because I saw pictures. It's a great drawing.
Both packages. Okay, good. Yeah, because the RGB thing, or RBG. I'm sorry, I work in like CMYK and RGB, and so sometimes when I say RBG, I say RGB. Yeah, for me. So if I ever missay that, it's not out of disrespect. It's because of that. But yeah, so during 2020, we lost an amazing person, and I decided to represent her in the deck. And then, oh, you did good. And so I decided also to draw a memorial for her. Let me see if I can find that card real quick. Do you mind?
No, go ahead.
I drew a memorial for her on the day that she passed. I had it in me, and I just had to let it out through drawing. And I used my iPad. All the drawings for this deck. Where is it? All the drawings for this deck, and what I usually use is my iPad, and I use Procreate. I'm going to pull that card aside. I want to say something about it. And it's been really, really great. I've only had it for about a year or two. Oh my goodness, where is it? It's going to be the last card in the deck, I bet.
I got it.
Oh, you have it here. Okay. Yeah. So I didn't mention her name in the book. I felt like not everybody's going to connect with it the same way. So I just decided to let me see here. I'm gonna pull this up. Yeah, the woman of the justice is represented, or is respected, and has proven that she is an integral part of fighting for fairness. But sometimes life simply isn't fair. She doesn't deserve to fall from the tower. Her work is not done yet. I'm like tearing up because I'm just talking about her. The scales of justice have been ripped from her grasp, and they will likely break below. She is satisfied with the work she has accomplished and encourages others to continue her fight for truth and justice. So, I mean, there's a little bit more of like, there's a little bit more in the interpretation of the book.
Right.
But that was the first description that all of the majors have. And I felt like it was really appropriate to include her in the deck because it was one of the tower moments, I feel, in 2020.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
For the United States, but also I felt like it was felt further out. Some of my global friends, we chatted about it as far as like what that would mean for the United States justice system, and like, yeah, it was a really, really tough experience for a lot of people, and losing her. And I felt like that was a good way to honor her. And like I mentioned, I just sent a picture to her without any purchasing. I was just like, you need this. You appreciate this card. Like, oh, good. You're welcome. I was like, you recognized her in the deck. Like, you deserve some sort of memorial, and you'd appreciate it. So that's what I did. As I was looking through here, though, I noticed, I remembered the 8 of Cups. And if you look at that, you had said something about the water spilling from the cups in the other cards. And this one in particular, I left the water out of them because I mentioned in the guidebook too that there was not any water. There was no like emotion or love or healing or whatever the water represents for you. It was out of the cups before they fell from the tower. So what you're walking away from in the Eight of Cups you were already done with it before the Tower moment came. So I decided to not put the figure in there either, just because I felt that emptiness and the kind of hollowness that this card in particular shows was appropriate without the figure. So some of them were intentionally left out. Some of them were intentionally, there was just like too many figures to draw falling from the tower. It wouldn't really work with timing or whatnot, or there were children, other things like that. So that's why some of them have figures and some of them don't. And this one in particular was because I felt like that emptiness really needed no figures in it as well. I also
has already left.
yeah, it was like he's gone. He escaped. Like I almost feel like he left before the destruction. So it was like he didn't even experience the tower moment because he was already on his way out. Like there was nothing left to
stay around for, right?
And I added myself. Yeah, I added myself to the deck too. So this is the 22nd card in the major arcana. And I named it the Artist, and that's me. If you know me personally, I wear a lot of, it was always my dream. My whole wardrobe is going to be dresses and leggings and boots. That's it. Like, that's all I want to wear. And I've always had jobs that required me to wear other things. And so these last few years of working in an office as a graphic designer, I'm like, I can wear whatever I want. I'm going to wear dresses and boots and leggings. So I have that with my crazy colored leggings. And I used an iPad Pro iPad Pro to create the deck. So what I did was I drew a picture of the iPad Pro, and then I took the tower art that I drew and I made it miniaturized. So if you look at it, I know that the quality is not going to be very good. It's not going to focus on it, but it actually has a little image of the tower in there, and then it has the little Apple Pencil falling too. And then up here is my bird. His name is Ditto, and he is a green cheek conure, and he was one of the only really good things to happen in 2020. We got him in January. There was other really sad, there was other tower moments throughout the year. Like my beloved dog passed away in 2020, and other things like that happened to us.
Yeah, we lost our dog in 2020 as well.
What was that?
We lost our dog in 2020.
I'm so sorry. I never had a dog growing up. She was my first dog, and we got her in 2008, if I'm remembering correctly. No, not 2008. I don't know. She was 7 years old when she passed, and she passed a little over a year ago in February of 2020, and it was very, very terrible. It was sudden and tragic, and it was definitely a tower moment for our family, especially right before staying home from the pandemic. I was like, she would have loved this, being home.
Right. And then there was no dogs anywhere for anyone because everyone's like, I need a dog.
Yeah. And I mean, we decided as a family, we needed a lot of time to heal. So we took a lot of time to heal from that. Actually, I haven't shared it on Facebook or public or anything like that, but we just got a puppy on Sunday.
No.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. So we decided after like over a year that we were finally ready to welcome a dog into our house. So we are healing from that tower moment. So yeah, we have a little puppy in our life.
Don't have a dog yet, but we've been looking.
Yeah, it's tough, but I hope that the right one comes along.
Oh, I'm sure. Just two more things I wanted to touch bases on with the figures in the images. Both of them are swords, of course.
Yeah.
First one is Seven of Swords, and he's still clutching, just like there's no change. He's just clutching those swords. I don't care if I'm falling. I'm falling with the swords, and probably impaling himself.
Yeah. So if you notice also though that like a couple of them are kind of sliding out of his grasp, like the one down, I don't have it in front of me. So yeah, the one down there, like one of them is completely out of his grasp, and then the other one, another one sliding out. So
this one.
Yeah, I have definitely experienced Seven of Swords tower moments combined where like I'm experiencing kind of that Seven of Swords moments, whether I'm doing it or it's happening to me, there's a bunch of different ways to interpret that. But if you're experiencing a tower moment too, like you have to pay attention. And that figure is not paying attention at all to what is actually happening. They're still focused on the swords and like holding on to them, but it's hopeless, right? Like it's just like, so yeah, that one I kept pretty close to the original art, and then it was just like, just have them sliding out slowly, like he's not even noticing the ones that are sliding out of his grasp, and that it's hopeless because he's not seeing what's happening below.
He's looking at those two that are following him.
Yeah.
Let's get with his foot.
Yeah. Right.
And then, of course, the 10 of Swords.
That one is,
as he falls, the swords are falling out of him. He's not happy though, is he?
Yeah, feeling is painful. So, I mean, I bet being stabbed hurts pretty bad, but when swords, I mean, like when the sword is being pulled out, that's going to hurt too. It's going to be, and then the wound is exposed, right? So if you see the swords in there, I mean, there's blood on them and the holes are still there. So I feel like a tower moment and a 10 of Swords moments, it's not necessarily double bad. It's like the 10 of Swords is really, really rough, right? And then a tower moment from that can be like you're getting out of that, like the tower is the 10 of Swords moment and you falling from it, like those swords are coming out. Like you have a chance to heal, but it's gonna hurt really bad. Pulling out the swords hurts probably just as much as going in, honestly. But the hope around that, I really love talking about swords to people because it's mental. It's in your mind. So like the Three of Hearts, the Three of Swords, and the 10 and the 9 and different ones that are really, really like, you're like, wow, that looks like physical pain. It's like, okay, but that's happening up here, and it's something that you can use logic and use like a plan to actually work out of those issues. Let's see. Oh, in the comments, somebody said, "Oh, you lost your dusky conure, Bella." Oh, I'm so sorry about your loss. I had a conure as a child, and he tragically passed away, and it was really tough. So I always knew, I'm like, when I'm settled, I'm an adult, I will get a conure of my own, and I will read up and not make any of the mistakes that can cause their gentle little bodies to hurt. So what's funny is that I'm super sensitive to smells. Like I'm very, very sensitive. I can't have anybody even use smelly lotions around me, and birds are really sensitive too. So my family's used to not having certain things around that I'm like, no perfumes, no candles, none of that.
No, I get that. As an acupuncturist, I've had clients like that. I had one that she couldn't even work with me because the sheets I used had a scent. And I'm like, yeah, but I use this very specific detergent that is unscented, specific for people with allergies. She's like, I can still smell it. I can't. I can't.
That's me. I have one detergent that I can use, and if any of my clothing items go into like another load of laundry of my family's, I have to rewash it because I'm like, I can smell the fresh scent.
Right.
Even
well, some weird because it's supposedly unscented, but she said I can still smell it.
You can smell the chemicals that are used. Yeah, the cleaning agent. That's funny.
Mm-hmm. Well, as an acupuncture student, when I was working in the clinic, like you have to use unscented detergent. You're not allowed to wear any kind of deodorant or cologne because there's so many people that have that sensitivity coming to acupuncture, right? So I totally get it. Even though I don't suffer from it myself, I've had clients.
You've experienced it enough that you're like, okay, I believe you. I got my tower mug with me today. That's my art on there. I have only a couple left, and I'm not going to order anymore. So I have a couple on my. Yeah,
I have one. It looks like they're just swimming, right? Give me a moment. Let me get some hot liquid in here, and then you'll see why this.
I want to see. Cynical laughter. Hi, everybody. It's just me. Yeah, there's my tower mug. The first time I used it, I spilled all over the place. I just spilled coffee all over the place. So I felt like it was really appropriate.
So I don't know if you can see, but now the heat
I
is
can.
added.
There's sharks in there.
There's sharks in the water.
That's so clever. I love that.
So I figured it was appropriate for the tower moment.
Yeah. Because it's sudden and you didn't realize I was there.
So I was thinking, just as an ending here, I was looking at that moving forward spread, and I'm thinking doing it like a group reading.
Ooh.
Pulling the 3 cards for all of us, right? How we as a collective can move forward. And as you heard, I was shuffling. So the moving forward spread is 3 cards. It says the first card is, what are you working towards? Second card is, what is holding you back? And third card is, what the outcome will be if you stay on the current path that you are on. Interesting. So what are we working towards? The Ace of Cups. Right? We're working towards that pure essence of who we are, right? Pure essence of our emotions, which also ties into our intuition and the 5 senses and all that kind of stuff. And then what is holding us back? This 8 of Pentacles is this idea that we haven't mastered the skill yet, even though we probably already have. And then what will be the outcome if we stay on our current path? 4 of Wands. So I think this is telling us, trust our intuition, trust our hearts. They lead us not towards destruction, but towards celebration. And you know me, I always got to look at the bottom of the deck for the shadow cards. 8 of Wands. So if we let it just go, and it'll be so fast that we won't even believe it, right? But it's also telling us communication is key.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And Kaylani has very generously offered to gift one of you guys a deck. So if you don't have it yet and you would like one,
or if you have it and you want to send it to somebody else,
yes,
right?
Yes. I guess since we're live now, come back and in the comments under the video, then put in yes.
Yes.
And I'll put you on the list. And in 1 week, I will do the drawing to see who gets the deck.
Yay.
Yay. And thank you so much for that offer. That's
amazing. No problem. And I have on my little name board here, Kaylani of Second Daughter Tarot, since Tower Takeover Tarot is just the deck that I produce. Second Daughter Tarot is the tarot business name that I've been using for a few years now. I've been reading for 13 years, but this is just the last, maybe like 5 years. I don't remember now. I should probably look that up. How long I've been reading under that name. That's interesting. So that's what my Etsy shop and my YouTube channel is Second Daughter Tarot. I don't have any content on there now, but now that this deck has come out and people are actually going on YouTube looking for stuff, I'm going to go ahead and create some content there. And Facebook page and stuff like that will be under Second Daughter Tarot. So if you see me commenting as Second Daughter Tarot, that is me. I made Tower Takeover Tarot. It's like different branding, but it's the same person. So
I will make sure that once this is loaded to get those links and put it in the description.
Thank you. And in my Etsy, I also have some jewelry. This is my moon pendant. I make these moon pendants. And then there's some jewelry that I have exclusive to Natalie's shop. So Natalie Meraki has a metaphysical shop, Meraki Metaphysical, and she does sell some things online, but it's a physical shop too. So I do create jewelry for her shop, and there's some of them that are kind of exclusive to the shop, like my little bee earrings. I'm about to send her a bunch of those. Those are a good seller.
Oh, those are cute.
Yeah, I like them. They have like the hexagons down, and on all the packaging I kind of write up a little bit about the symbolism of different shapes, and whatever's in the jewelry, they all kind of have a little bit of a meaning. So, and I practice Reiki, so I try to infuse them all gently with Reiki as I create them. So it's a whole process. So I hope that people
I know all about
enjoy them.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
For those of you interested in getting a wearable crystal grid, reach out and I will work with you, because
I would
I
love
noticed
that.
that if I make one just to make one, it ends up mine. But
Yeah.
if I make one specifically while I'm working with somebody and it's their energy I'm putting in,
That's
it's
amazing.
totally theirs, right? And several
Yeah.
people in the chat have their own. So if
That's
you're interested
awesome.
in a wearable crystal grid, reach out, let me know. Pearls.
Nice.
So,
I am definitely interested. We should set something up
yeah,
together.
definitely.
I would really love that. I've been working with lots of more things lately since Natalie wanted jewelry for a shop. I was like, I'll do all of it, and then I kind of overburdened myself. But like 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm like making stuff to send.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, these necklaces tend to make about an hour and a half to make one.
Wow.
So, yeah, because it's not just
Really intricate.
They're intricate, and I'm weaving my energy into it as well, just weaving it itself. And then I go through a process of giving it a sun bath in Maui, the place of the sun.
Yeah.
Full moon bath.
Nice.
And I call it an earth bath, but it's draped over a Tibetan salt lamp.
Oh, beautiful. How long does that whole process take from
Depends on when the full moon is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If we just had a full moon, it'll be a while.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really beautiful. I'm interested in that, and everybody else should too.
Yay. So no, Jamie, that's next month that we're gonna do a live. So I'm gonna do a live with the people who have already received the necklaces, and we're gonna talk about how they're not just jewelry; they're also spiritual tools. So
that's awesome. I would love to hear how people are using them.
The 18th of July, if I'm remembering right. I have to double check. And unfortunately, my guest for next week had to cancel.
Oh.
So next week we'll be doing the drawing for the Tower Takeover Tarot. And I don't know, we'll chit chat and see what else comes up. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week. And thank you so much, Kaylani, for your time and your generosity. So
thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, it was a blast. So thank you, everyone, and I will see you next week. Get your names down into the description so I can put you in the draw. Thank you. Aloha and hui ho.